My name is Daniel Reyes. I'm 32 years old, and the day my relatives decided to celebrate taking everything I had, they did it like it was a victory party. There was a banner. Not a small one. Not something you could ignore. A full-size printed banner stretched across my aunt's backyard fence in bold red letters. Finally free from Daniel's control. People were clapping, laughing, recording. My cousin Marco had a drink in his hand, telling everyone how I used money to manipulate the family. My Aunt Elena was nodding like she'd been waiting her whole life to say it out loud. Someone shouted, "You can't buy loyalty anymore." And then my uncle raised his glass and said, "Tonight we take back our dignity." From me. I stood there at the edge of the patio, still holding the envelope I had come to drop off. Inside it was $3,200. Their overdue mortgage payment. I didn't say anything. I didn't defend myself. I didn't even move when Marco walked past me and bumped my shoulder on purpose, spilling a little of his drink down my shirt, because in that moment something clicked. Not anger. Not hurt. Clarity. I placed the envelope on the table next to the drinks, took one look at the banner again, and pulled out my phone. I took a picture. My aunt noticed. She smirked. "Go ahead," she said. "Maybe your lawyer can help you feel better." I almost smiled, because that photo wasn't for a lawyer. It was for later. I turned around, walked out of the backyard, got in my car, and left. No speech. No scene. Just silence. And 2 weeks later, every single one of them was calling me. But before I tell you what they said, tell me something first. What time is it where you are right now? And where are you watching from? I want to see how far this story reaches. Because the version my family told about me spread pretty far. According to them, I was controlling, manipulative, the guy who helped, just so he could hold it over everyone's head later. The one who kept receipts. The one who made people feel small. And honestly, that story worked. People love simple villains, especially when the truth is uncomfortable. The truth didn't sound as good at parties. The truth was quiet and expensive. 3 years earlier, after my uncle's construction business started bleeding money, I was the one they called. Not publicly, not proudly, quietly, late at night. Just for a little help, they said. I ran a small consulting setup, nothing flashy. I helped struggling businesses fix their operations, clean up their finances, restructure contracts. The kind of work nobody notices until everything breaks. I was good at it, and my family knew it. First it was small. Fixing an overdue supplier payment. Rewriting a contract they didn't understand. Covering a missed payroll just this once. But problems don't stay small when people refuse to face them. They multiply. And every time they did, I stepped in. Not because they respected me, because they needed me. I paid vendor deposits they couldn't cover. I renegotiated debts they were about to default on. I kept their accounts from getting frozen more than once. I even put my own credit line behind their equipment lease when the bank started asking questions. But none of that was visible. What was visible was that I showed up in clean clothes, worked from a laptop, didn't swing a hammer. So to them, I wasn't working. I was just helping. Funny how that works. You can carry people for years, and they'll still call you dead weight. I never asked for recognition. That's important. Because people will say, "Why didn't you speak up?" Because in families like mine, the moment you explain your value, you become the problem. So I stayed quiet, covered the gaps, kept things running, until one night, I overheard something I wasn't supposed to hear. My Aunt Elena was on the phone, laughing, saying, "Once we're stable again, we don't need him anymore." And then she said the part that changed everything. "He thinks he's helping us. But honestly, we're just using him until we're back on our feet." I stood there in the hallway, completely still. And for the first time, I stopped feeling responsible and started paying attention. I didn't confront her. That's the part people always expect. They think there was some dramatic scene, yelling accusations, a family explosion. There wasn't. I went back to my room, opened my laptop, and started documenting everything. Because emotions get rewritten. Facts don't. I pulled bank statements going back 2 years. Every transfer. Every temporary loan. every emergency payment that was never mentioned again. Then I opened my email. Every contract I had rewritten for them, every supplier negotiation, every late-night message that started with, "Hey, quick favor." I built a timeline. Not just money, dependency, dates, amounts, context, what I covered, what would have happened if I hadn't. Took me 3 nights. When I finished, I just stared at the total, $86,740. That's what it cost to be the problem. And that number didn't even include the deals I saved, the penalties I prevented, or the time I gave them while they were out celebrating being independent. That was the moment everything shifted. Not emotionally, logically, because once you see the full picture, you can't unsee it. A week later, my uncle called me. Casual tone. Like nothing had changed. "Hey, we're a little tight this month. Think you can float us again?" Float us again. Like I was a bank. Like this was normal. I told him I'd think about it. I didn't. Instead, I started preparing. Quietly. Systematically. I removed my credit from their equipment lease. Took 3 calls and a fee I was happy to pay. I disconnected my backup card from their vendor accounts. Canceled 2 auto-renew subscriptions I had been covering. Updated access permissions on shared files. And the most important one, I stopped fixing their mistakes. No announcements. No warnings. Just absence. That's the thing about being invisible support. Nobody notices you until you're gone. The first crack showed up 5 days later. A supplier flagged their account for late payment. Normally, I would have handled it before anyone even saw the notice. This time, it escalated. Then payroll got delayed. Then a client rejected a proposal because it was incomplete. Then another. And another. Suddenly, everything they thought was running fine started falling apart. Because it wasn't running. I was running it. That's when the messages started. First it was confusion. "Hey, did something change with billing? System's acting weird, can you check?" Quick question. "Did you touch the vendor account?" I didn't respond. Then came irritation. "Daniel, this isn't funny. We need access fixed. Stop ignoring us." Still nothing. Then, panic. My aunt called me at 7:12 in the morning. Her voice was completely different. Soft. Careful. "Daniel, sweetheart, I think something's wrong with the accounts. Maybe your card is still connected somewhere?" Maybe. I almost admired how easily they shifted tone. From accusation to dependence. I let it ring. By day 10, they weren't calling with questions anymore. They were calling with urgency. My uncle left a voicemail that sounded nothing like him. No jokes. No attitude. Just stress. "Hey, we got a situation. The lease company's asking questions, and the supplier's threatening to cut us off. Just call me back, okay?" And then came Marco, the same cousin who spilled his drink on me. Now texting. "Bro, whatever this is, just fix it. It's messing everything up." That word. Fix it. Like I was still responsible. Like nothing had changed. I replied with one sentence. "You said you were finally free." He didn't answer. That weekend, they threw the party, the banner, the speeches, the performance. Because in their minds, they had already won. They thought independence meant I was gone. But everything would keep working the same. They thought removing me had no cost. That was their mistake. Because systems don't fail loudly at first. They fail quietly. Then all at once. 3 days after the party, my phone lit up non-stop. Missed calls, voicemails, messages stacked on messages. And this time, there was no arrogance left. Just desperation. "Daniel, please call me. We need to talk. I think things got out of hand. I'm asking you, please." I let it sit. For a full day. Then I sent one message. "Tomorrow. Noon. Public place." My uncle replied instantly. "Home." I stared at that for a second. And then typed back. "No. You wanted everyone involved when you celebrated. You can have everyone involved now." He didn't respond. But he showed up. And he didn't come alone. They were already sitting when I walked in. Corner booth. Middle of the diner. No privacy. My uncle. My aunt. Marco. And my grandmother. That told me everything. This wasn't just a talk. This was an intervention. For me. My uncle stood up like he was about to greet a client. Too polite. Too controlled. Daniel, he said, forcing a smile. Thanks for coming. I nodded. Sat down. No one ordered food. That's always a sign something is wrong. People don't eat when the truth is about to show up. For a few seconds nobody spoke. Then my aunt leaned forward. Soft voice. Careful words. We think there's been a misunderstanding. Of course. It's always a misunderstanding. When the consequences finally arrive. I didn't interrupt. She kept going. Things have been unstable since you stopped helping. And we just want to understand what happened. Not what we did. What happened? Like this was weather. Not choices. Marco chimed in next. Less patient. You made your point, okay? Just turn everything back on. Turn everything back on. Like I was a switch. I looked at him for a second, then reached into my bag and placed a folder on the table. No drama. No speech. Just paper. My uncle frowned. What's this? The difference, I said, between your story and mine. He opened it. First casually, like he expected nonsense. That confidence lasted about 10 seconds. His eyes dropped to the first page. Then the second. Then he stopped. Went back. Read it again. Slowly. My aunt leaned in. Marco shifted closer. My grandmother squinted like the numbers themselves offended her. At the top of the page. One number. $86,740. Silence. Real silence. Not the kind people perform. The kind that makes your ears ring. My uncle cleared his throat. This isn't accurate. I nodded. Check the next page. He flipped. Transfers. Dates. Descriptions. Vendor deposit. Emergency payroll. Insurance reinstatement. Equipment lease coverage. Each line clean. Undeniable. Documented. My aunt's voice got sharper. You didn't have to do all that. There it was. The first defense. Minimize the help. I met her eyes. You didn't have to take it. That landed. Marco leaned back. Ran a hand through his hair. This is crazy, he muttered. Families don't keep score like this. I almost smiled, because I had been waiting for that one. Funny, I said calmly. When I lived with you, you called it freeloading. I tapped the number on the page. But when you lived off me, I paused. It became family. No one spoke. My uncle flipped faster now, looking for something to attack, something to break the structure. These subscriptions, these were business expenses, he said. Yes, I replied. Your business. Another page. These payments were temporary. 3 months, I said. All after you said cash flow was fine. Marco exhaled hard. This doesn't mean you just get to shut everything down. I leaned back slightly, still calm. I didn't shut anything down. I let that sit, then added. I just stopped holding it together. That was the moment it hit them. Not emotionally. Structurally. My grandmother finally spoke. Slow. Measured. This is not how family behaves. I looked at her. Is hanging a banner calling me a freeloader how family behaves? She didn't answer. Because she couldn't. My uncle lowered his voice. Trying a different angle now. Okay. Maybe we underestimated what you were doing. Underestimated. Not ignored. Not dismissed. Underestimated. But this doesn't have to go further, he continued. We can fix this. You just need to help stabilize things again. There it was. Not an apology. A request. Wrapped in strategy. I reached into my bag again. Pulled out a second envelope. Placed it on the table. What's this? Marco asked. Your solution, I said. Inside were contacts. Bookkeepers. A restructuring consultant. A small business attorney. Payment plan services. Real help. Just not me. My uncle stared at it. You're serious? Yes. My aunt's voice cracked slightly. So you're just walking away? I met her gaze. I already paid. Silence again. Heavier this time. My uncle's jaw tightened. If you leave now, don't expect to come back when things recover. Picked up my keys. And for the first time, I felt nothing. No guilt. No hesitation. Just clarity. I looked at him and said, "The only reason things ever recovered," I paused, "was because I was there." Then I stood up and walked out. No one followed, because deep down, they already knew. This wasn't something they could argue their way out of. It was something they had to live through. And this time, I wasn't going to save them. The collapse didn't happen all at once. That's the part people don't understand. It never does. First, it looks like small problems. Manageable. Fixable. Something you can figure out. That illusion lasted about a week. The first Reyes hit came from a supplier. They switched the account to cash-only terms. No more credit. No more, "We'll settle it next month." Upfront payment. Every order. My uncle tried to bluff his way through it. He always did. But bluffing only works when someone else is quietly backing you. This time there wasn't anyone. Then payroll got missed. Not delayed. Missed. 2 workers didn't show up the next day. One of them had been with the company for 6 years. Loyal. Until his money stopped coming. That's when loyalty becomes math. Marco tried to cover it. Told everyone it was just a temporary glitch. But glitches don't stack. Problems do. By the second week, clients started noticing. Emails went unanswered. Deadlines slipped. Installations got pushed back. One contract got pulled completely. Then another. And here's the part that hurt them the most. It wasn't dramatic. No big explosion. Just quiet withdrawals. One by one. Like people slowly backing away from something unstable. At home it got worse. Because when pressure builds, it looks for a target. And I wasn't there anymore. So they turned on each other. My aunt blamed my uncle. My uncle blamed the workers. Marco blamed bad timing. My grandmother blamed pride. Nobody blamed the truth. Because that would have meant admitting I wasn't the problem. About 3 weeks in, I got a call. Unknown number. I let it ring once. Twice. Then picked up. Silence for a second. Then my uncle's voice. Lower than I'd ever heard it. "Daniel." No attitude. No control. Just wait. "We need help." Not "Can you help?" Not "Would you consider?" "We need help." I didn't respond. He continued. "We're about to lose the equipment. The lease company's not waiting anymore." Pause. "And the house?" Another pause. "We might have to sell." There it was. Consequences. Real ones. The kind that don't disappear with excuses. I spoke calmly. "What do you want from me?" A long silence. Then, "Just come back for a little while. Help us stabilize. We'll figure everything else out after." Figure everything else out. Meaning go back to the way things were. Invisible. Useful. Disposable. I leaned back in my chair. Looked out the window. And realized something important. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about identity. If I said yes, nothing would change. If I said no, everything already had. So I gave him an answer he wasn't expecting. No. Silence. Then, "You'd really let your family lose everything over this?" That sentence. That framing. That guilt. It used to work. It didn't anymore. I replied, "You're not losing everything because I left." I let that sit. Then finished. "You're losing everything because it only worked when I was carrying it." He didn't speak. Because there's nothing to argue with. When the truth is structural. Eventually he hung up. No goodbye. No anger. Just emptiness. After that, the updates came from a distance. Not directly. Through people. Through messages. Through silence. The house went up for sale. Not by choice. By necessity. The company downsized. Then downsized again. One truck got repossessed. Then another. Marco picked up side jobs. My aunt stopped hosting gatherings. My grandmother stopped calling. Because when reality shows up, performance disappears. Months passed. And something strange happened. Nothing. No dramatic revenge moment. No final confrontation. No big apology. Just distance. And peace. Real peace. The kind that feels unfamiliar at first. Because you're not waiting for the next crisis. I moved forward. Expanded my work. Took on better clients. set boundaries I should have had years ago, and slowly built something that didn't depend on being needed by people who didn't respect me. About 5 months later, my phone rang again. Different number. I answered. My aunt. Her voice was quieter. Not broken. Just honest. We were wrong. That's all she said. No speech. No justification. Just 4 words. I didn't respond right away, because apologies don't erase patterns, but they do reveal awareness. And that matters. Eventually I said, I know. Not forgiveness. Not rejection. Just truth. We didn't rebuild everything, but we rebuilt something. Carefully. With distance. With boundaries. With clarity. And that's the part most people miss about stories like this. The real revenge isn't destruction. It's exposure. It's removing your effort and letting reality speak for itself. Because when someone calls you a burden, while standing on everything you built, you don't need to fight them. You just need to step away and let them feel the weight. For the first time, I was never the problem. I was the system. And the moment I left, everything they called normal stopped working. That's the truth they couldn't argue with. And the reason, they'll never look at me the same way again.